Hi, this is Attila16, and this is the part 2 of my kind of walkthrough, which I don't know if I will ever finish, but I'll just do it slowly and as I please, and if you guys want it, I'll I'll just do a few episodes, and that's it. So essentially, I'm resuming the story where I left, but my character looked different, as you might notice. And the reason for that is that I'm actually at level 56 now. And the reason why I resumed the game in such condition is that this game allows you to play in a really non-linear way, and the enemies are actually adjusting to whatever you do. So that's a pretty cool thing, and that's why I'm resuming where I left in terms of story. And I'm able to just jump in and do show you the campaign. So this game has an acceptable story. It's not a masterpiece. It's not super deep. There's a few side story, which can be fun to play or learn about. But at the same time, this is nowhere near a game like Oblivion or Skyrim, and it's a kind of traditional RPG. There's not much difference between this and Diablo 2, other than it's a little more refined. And I don't know how voluntary that is, but it's clear that there was a will there to just do what people are used to, as opposed to create much of a revolution in gender. So this game is all about just going around the quest, finding items, and hopefully finding good items. And those items will define if your character is good or not, as opposed to being you, well, playing yourself and doing much to compensate whatever equipment you have, like it will be the case in Mountain Blade. So in this game, what you do mostly is you just hold the left mouse button. This is pretty simple, and for most enemies that will be sufficient actually. But it's just that you have different skill, which you can see down there. And if I click here, you can see the different skill I can use, and each of these skill have different statistic or effect, and you might want to use different runes for different purpose. And so this is a game where if you're a fanatic about statistic, you will be addicted to this, because the goal of it is to create a character or customize your character so that it can beat nearly anything. And that's one interest of it. And the other one is that everything is pretty much interactive. You can turn buddies, and you can blow stuff, create a chain reaction, and it's stimulating to play, but at the same time it's kinda repetitive in the long run. And that's why I have some doubt about if this game will remain popular in the long run, because if you're not an RPG fanatic, you might get bored of it. And the reason for this is that the goal of this game is about ranking up. It's not so much about having a deep story. It's about ranking up your character, unlocking different skill, and from there you will become stronger. Your character will beat stronger enemies, and then you'll play the game again with the same character, and you just go through the same levels again and beat different monster. Well, mostly the same monster, but some of them will be stronger, and you'll see some special items there, and you will customize your character then. And this is what it's about. It's all about just finding items, making gold, that kind of stuff. And with that gold you can customize your character, and then you can show off to your 3 other friends. And that's a little limited considering World of Warcraft, which when you will create your character, many thousand people could potentially see it. Or at least people in the raid. So I have some serious doubt about if the casual gamer will play this game much. And at the same time, it's a game which is really dark. Sure, it's called Diablo, and that's something you should expect for it to be dark. But at the same time, my main complaint about it is that when you play it, you may start all happy and everything, and you might remain stimulated during all the time you play it. But the atmosphere of this game kind of makes you depressed over time. So I will not recommend people to play this non-stop, because it might have some effect on your mood. And that's just my impression so far. Of course, different people might react differently. But the thing is that this is a game which is kind of captivating, because everything is moving all the time. So it's really stimulating for your brain, but at the same time it's kind of dark, and it's kind of depressing, I mean. So I don't know, it's like there's some game where you come out of it and you're all happy and everything, but in this game it's like you're tired and you don't want to think about other stuff after, so it's kind of bad for the mood. Of course, that's might be only me though, so I don't know. More testing will be required about that. So now I'm just fighting against a horde of zombies in this mission where it's the legacy of Cain, and I'm playing at L difficulty. And there's different difficulty. You can play at normal, nightmare, L, and inferno. I don't know if there's something above that, but in each of these difficulty make the enemy stronger and better. There will be more special enemies. For example, these blue enemy which are coming toward me, they will be a pain to beat normally, even though I'm just at L difficulty. So I'll just focus my character on kicking their ass. And that forced me to use my different abilities, which I showed you earlier. At the same time, these seem really powerful. They're resisting my different attack. So I'm pretty much forced to use different skill, and it's called Spirit for the monk. I don't know if it's the case for a different class. I only played monk so far. The monk is a kind of class which is a lot about offensive and let's say somehow defensive, but it's not really well, the way I play the monk, it's not really defensive. It's a kind of right balance between different offense and defense. Okay, so I finally got one, and the other one is right there. So now these enemy, as you can see, for a bunch of things that flies, they release electricity and poison and that kind of stuff all over the place. So that's the kind of enemy which are really dangerous. But for the rest, most regular enemy are a way to boost your spirit. For example, what I'll do here is I'll spend some spirit, and now I'll beat those enemies, and you can see that as I beat them, my spirit goes up. So the way it's designed is that you will have plenty of regular enemies, and these are your easy kills, and they are a good way to kind of boost your character over time. They are mean to potentially beat harder character later. So this game, it's not so. It's a kind of tactical game. So what you do is it's all a question of timing and finding the right moment to attack the enemy, for example. So yeah, you customize your character, and your character will become much stronger as you find good items for him, and as you unlock different skill. But once you reach the level 60, for example, there's not much skill to unlock anymore. So it's all about the items. But then it's not so much about the items anymore. It's also how you use your character abilities. So for example, if you see that there's an attack coming, a special attack, that will freeze your character. And what you do is you use Serenity in my case, which will make me invincible for a short moment. What that do is that the enemy will attack me to freeze me, but if I do that at the same time, it will prevent them from freezing me. So it's a kind of action-reaction game. So you need to be to use the right timing for everything you do. And it's a kind of tactical game, especially when you play with multiple player, where each player you add to the group will actually increase the strength of the enemy to compensate. So that's that can become quite challenging, and since everything is moving all the time, it's quite stimulating, as you can see. But at the same time, it's all about statistic and how you use your different skill at the right moment. Because if you don't use them at the right moment, it's a waste of time. And your character can get defeated in just one small row of attack by the enemy. So for example, if you see that you're fighting big enemies and you need to escape, sometimes it's good to use some skill set that will allow you to escape quickly. Well, at the time it might not be necessary. You might just want to boost your attack capacity. So it's really a kind of RPG game, traditional and everything. There's not much revolution there. It's largely based on stats, and the better your stat, the better you'll do in the battle. And for example, you can really define the style of combat you want your character to have. So right now, for example, I'm using a skill which does a couple of small attack on the enemy. So I don't make that much damage at once. But the thing is that my attacks are so quick that ultimately I perhaps make more damage than if I had one big attack. And also my style of attack is will do area damage, so every enemy will end up taking some damage from it. So it's a kind of focus attack, but at the same time the last attack will damage multiple enemy. And you can have different style of attack, and all this will impact how you will do against different enemies. So for example, one time I was playing with a friend, and he was really strong in attack, but the problem is that by being so strong in attack, he was pretty weak in defense. And what we did is that I just adjusted my character so that he could be much more defensive than he could have been otherwise. And what that did is that I became a kind of a tank, which was taking all the enemy punishment, while my friend was simply inflicting all the damage. And my goal was simply to hold the enemy against the horde of enemy. So that means that there's some tactic going on there, some strategy or ways or philosophy to do stuff. And I guess trying the different style might be an entertaining aspect. But what I question a lot is if this game is able to maintain the interest, because once you're done with the story, yeah, you can rank up, you'll do Nightmare difficulty, Hell difficulty, and Inferno, but once you do all this, the question is, will you be still interested? Because it's always the same maps. The enemy are different, they have different skill, but is this enough to keep the interest? And I think the answer for that is that for most casual gamer, that won't be enough. But at the same time, they're scared that when you have 4.5 million people that buy a game, there will be quite numerous number of hardcore player which will be interested to continue to play this non-stop nearly. And that's a good basis. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm not a super hardcore RPG gamer. I prefer games where I do the difference, not so much my character. and so perhaps I'm a little harsh about my interpretation of the longevity of this game. But it's clear that, you know, for example, right now I'm fighting a boss. And the boss, yeah, it's fun to beat a strong enemy, but once you beat him 20 times, what's the fun anymore? So I think it's very likely that Blizzard will release a couple of DLC, which will be expansion, small expansion to this game. And I think, yeah, I did play a lot of hours to this game just to learn about it and make a good opinion about it. But at the same time, I have some question about the interest long term, because I already feel that it's repetitive, and I'm not sure I'm interested to play it much more, even though I'm not at the maximum level yet. So once I reach the maximum level, where's the interest anymore? So I'll just teleport to the town now. And also, this is a game which is largely focusing on items, and you know, spending a lot of time just to get virtual items. Where's the added value to that? And I'm not sure that's particularly entertaining. There's no risk about it because you can lose them, and I don't know. It's a cool game, but it's many hours of fun. But at the same time, it's not a game which I would recommend to play long term. I don't think. I think many people may go back to World of Warcraft after finishing this game, because there's just not enough value to it long term. It's a great game, I think. If you never played an RPG, this game might be a good game to try the genre, the type of game. This is a pretty good way to do it, to get into that and to get addicted to it potentially. But at the same time, I think this game is really like old style game, and there's no revolution there. World of Warcraft was kind of a revolution, if you ask me, because it's a huge RPG. It's a massive online multiplayer done right, and I think it had a huge success because of that. But this game is too traditional to be considered revolutionary, or to be considered that special. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you agree or disagree with my point of view. And I'll stop it here. If you want more of this game, I'm willing to show more of it. But at the same time, anyway, voice your opinion. I'll make sure to read it.